Good morning and welcome to the Kimmel Bay vlog. I'm Phil Shepherd, counsellor, therapist, and we're looking today at chapter 10, Mark chapter 10. Jesus is continuing his journey to Jerusalem. Up to now, he's been teaching in Galilee, the rugged foothills, the nationalistic fervour of the folk there. And now he's beginning to head to Jerusalem, to the centre of the religion, the Pharisees that in the end were to oppose him so strictly, so cruelly. Continuing his journey to Jerusalem, and he announces in this chapter, verses 32, Mark 10, verse 32, he announces what's going to happen to him at Jerusalem, how he's going to be delivered to the priests, fully aware of his death, fully aware of what he's come for. Death on the cross, the focus of his ministry. And at that moment, two of his disciples see it as a chance for self-promotion. Hey, Jesus, we want you to do something for us. And what they want, nonetheless, is when Jesus arrives in his glory, according to their view, that they should sit one on the right and one on the left, these two brothers. Self-promotion. In Matthew's Gospel, as he relates this story, he tells us that actually it was their mother that put them up to it. You know, these two, James and John, they were known as the sons of thunder. And I wonder really if they got their thunder from their mother. Jesus really is so patient with them and yet so direct. He says, hey, this isn't the way to behave in the kingdom. This isn't the way we should treat each other. He says, you know, in business and the like and management, people, they lord it over each other and they throw their weight around. If you give someone a piece of power, then they misuse it. But it should not be so amongst you. And then he tells his disciples and he teaches us what it really means to follow him. He says in verse 45, a lovely verse, he says, whoever is great among you must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must be the servant of all. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Let's just focus on that in our thoughts this morning. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And he sets that up as the example to follow. He came not to be served, and he wants us to do the same. Now, there are situations where we want to be served. Of course there are. If you go into a shop, you expect to be served, to pay your money. I remember there was a bookshop some time back now, in the 70s, called Books Unlimited in Prestatyn. Hope it's not still there. And they just had every sort of book. And I used to call it Booksellers Unlimited because they had so much stuff. And often you would go in and say, excuse me, and you couldn't seem to get anyone to serve you. Maybe a lot of shops are like that. I imagine some shopkeepers saying, you know, this shop would work fine if it wasn't for the customers. Maybe that's a bit unfair, especially in these days. But in a shop, you expect to be served. If you go to McDonald's, you expect to be served. And of course, you never can be exactly sure what you're going to have when you get home. But it's a shame when that's the rule for our lives, when we expect to be served, when we expect others to serve us. When we get pushed in front of in a queue and we get annoyed. When we smile at someone in the street and they don't respond and give a grumpy reaction. A car passes and cuts in. Others are asked to do something that really we wanted to do. And it's almost a case of wanting others to serve us. No, of course we need to, stick up for ourselves. We've got our dignity. But when it becomes a rule for life that others exist for us, that others have to fit into our plans. The Son of Man came not to be served. Is it all about you in the end? The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many, to serve others. Ich dien is the medieval German phrase that the Prince of Wales has adopted as his motto. I serve. In Spain, a shop assistant will often come to you and in the translation is they will say, how can I serve you? What can I do to serve you? In the press recently, there's been reports of random acts of kindness, people leaving trays of apples that were spare outside of their house that others could take. People leaving items that others could have freely. And in the press, random acts of kindness. Wouldn't it be great if we were known, or as humans, for random acts of kindness, for putting others first, caring for ourselves, but putting others first too. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. And then this final part is something really that only Jesus could do, to give his life as a ransom for many. Let's pause here and think what that means. To give his life as a ransom for many. A ransom, that seems to speak of hostage. A ransom being paid. Payment. What does that mean? I love the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. You remember that story, those of you that's seen it? How Edmund, one of the four children, gets really cross with Peter and the others, gets very grouchy and feels put out and gets resentful and takes a bad attitude and gets involved with the White Queen. And oh my, someone had to rescue him. And in the end, she lets him free. But someone had to pay. If you go into a shop and break an expensive vase, that's fine. The shopkeeper may let you go, if you're lucky. But who foots the bill? And how does the shopkeeper get their vase back? If you have a great debt that maybe you've amassed or in some way or another, and again, you're let off, but who pays? Who pays the bill? Who foots the debt? Now, mankind has turned away from God independently and separately and nationally, internationally. God forgives us. As we come to him, he in love forgives us. But who pays the bill? Who paid the bill? It would need to be someone with owing nothing. To pay that bill to the divine, it would need to be someone that had no debt to pay. Someone whose motives were pure. Someone who was faultless. Someone with no skeleton in the cupboard, nothing that could be found about their past to spoil it. Someone with no selfish motives. Someone like God himself. And Jesus came to pay that debt. And there's so much in the cross, so much teaching involved in the cross. No time to go over it here. But the teaching is that on the cross, he paid the debt for us. He gave the owner the vase back. He paid the debt so that Edmund could go free. There was a cost, but he rose. He rose from the dead and gives life now so that we might live for him. So be free today. Live free. Come to him. Live free. Realize that he has set us free. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Live free today. Not free to do what you want. No, free to serve. And just follow in the way, as Bartimaeus did, who's the next healing in this chapter. A blind man who was healed, and it says at the end, he followed Jesus along the road. Let's do that today and make serving others our aim. Random acts of kindness because of our love for him. Have a good day.